Hey y'all, Melissa of Melly Sews here with you today, and today's project is quick, easy, and makes a great gift. We're going to be making this little tissue holder for purse or backpack, briefcase, travel bag, anything where you would take like travel size tissues. I don't know about you, but when I put tissues in my purse, like this is what they end up looking like. The bag is all destroyed, the tissues are falling out of one end, they're getting all wrinkled and crumpled, and I'm finding them in the bottom of my purse, and that's just not gonna work. So this is a much cuter solution, and it does hold the tissue in better since all the edges are closed up. So it's got this little button closure, and then you can pull your tissue out, and if it's in your purse, it's still going to be flexible, so it might wrinkle or fold, but the tissue's not going to fall out. It's not going to start looking like this. So let's talk about materials and let's get to sewing. Okay, let's talk about the supplies. So the main part of this is just this one little scrap here that is 7 1/4 inches wide by 6 1/4 inches tall. I'm going to be using a mini ponytail holder here for the closure, and I've got the button and thread to sew that on. And then I'm going to be finishing the edges with pinking shears, which is optional, but I like to do this just to make sure they're extra secure. So the first step we're going to do here is take the pinking shears and we're going to finish off those 6 1/4 inch edges by just trimming right along the edge. And this prevents unraveling because it's forming a whole bunch of bias grain cuts, and therefore there aren't any long threads that can just pull off all the way across that edge. They've all been snipped in bias directions. So I'm going to do that on the other edge as well. The next step is we want to take those two edges that we just pinked and we want to press them 1/4 inch to the wrong side. Since I'm using quilting cotton, this is super easy to press. Okay, once we've got those two edges pressed, we want to stitch down the two edges. So let me meet you over at the sewing machine and we can go ahead and do that. So once we've stitched down both edges, it's time to add the elastic for the closure. So what we're going to do is we are going to pick one edge, we're going to find the center of that edge. Then we're going to fold it under once and place the elastic in there, right on that center mark, and we're going to stitch and back stitch over that elastic. So let's go over to the sewing machine and do that. Okay, we've added the elastic on. I sew about halfway through. Make sure that your button isn't going to just totally fall out of it when you're stitching it. And you could cut off the other end, but I don't. I just leave it for insurance to help make sure that this stays on. So the next step is going to be to mark on this edge 1 1/4 inches from each edge. So mark 1 1/4 here and 1 1/4 from the bottom. And then what we need to do is fold these right sides together, and we need to stitch from the edge to that mark, from the mark to the edge, making sure to back stitch at the mark each time. Okay, I've gone ahead and I've stitched in those spots and I pressed a crease along the opposite edge. What I want to do now is open this up, and I want to match those seams to the crease marks, and we'll go ahead and open them up. And then I want to press the whole thing like this. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so here it is pressed, and now with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I want to stitch down each end. Okay, here we've stitched down both ends. Now I want to take my scissors, my regular scissors, and I want to snip down those crease marks to the seam line. What that's going to do is it's going to allow me to open up these seams here when I box the corners. And then I want to take the pinking shears and trim those seam allowances down. Okay, let's box the corners. What we're going to do is we're going to open up that seam allowance, and we're going to open up the whole tissue holder so that we're looking just at the corner. You want to match the seam allowance to the crease mark on the other side. Make sure your corner is going to end up square that way. And then what you want to do is, working just with the corner, you want to mark it at 3/4 inches. So here is the 3/8 line. I'm going to put that right on the crease mark that I can see, and I should have 3/4 from here to here, which I do. And I want to make sure that I use a pencil or a pen or something with a very fine line to mark this line, since we're working in a small area. And then I'm going to pin, and I want to repeat that on each corner. And then I'm going to be going and stitching across each of those lines to box the 4 corners. Okay, now that we've boxed the corners, all we need to do is trim up our threads. And then let's turn this right side out. And then we can finish up our little tissue holder by adding on the button with hand sewing. And there we go, just add Kleenex.